Do you think Activision's going to charge me $1? Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Now, the end of 2018 was probably the lowest point in the gaming industry since, 1983 when it crashed. And let's be honest, if you've listened to the news for the last couple of days, 2019 hasn't exactly got off to the greatest of starts either. So in today's video, I've actually compiled 5 specific reasons why I think the industry is perceived in such a negative fashion, and also what they really need to change if they want to turn this perception around. The first one is what I like to call the two truths. One truth that developer publisher will give to the gamer, and the true truth that the developer publisher will give to the shareholder. And unfortunately, it always appears to be in that order. They'll tell the gamer one thing and the shareholder another, which only goes further to frustrate the gamers in that said title. So for example, let's use Destiny 2. When Destiny 2 came out, I kicked myself. I knew I shouldn't have bought it because when I dealt with the beta, I realized it was just the same, essentially, as the first Destiny game in terms of content. However, when I actually got Destiny 2, I didn't realize how much it tries to funnel people towards the Eververse microtransaction store. And then they had the 2 expansions, by which time I had long gone from the title. But they were shot down as well, one of them being essentially a celebration of the Eververse store. Then came the Christmas event, which again just seemed to push people towards the Eververse store. It was so egregious, people just left in their millions. And Destiny 2, a game which Activision Blizzard, of course, were hoping was going to see them through for years and years to come, lost virtually all of its customer base. And then, when it comes to actually fixing, you have all the platitudes. So they start to talk to the gamers. Yes, we're determined to fix this. Yes, we're determined to make this game better. Yes, we're determined to do this, that, and the other. And then the earnings reports come out for the shareholders, and you hear a completely different story. You hear about engagement not being how it should be. Then you hear about the way that we can try and rectify this is open up more opportunities for microtransactions. So the way that they're going to fix Destiny 2 is by implementing more features, the features which actually drove the gamers away in the first place. So you have one truth to the gamer: we're going to fix things, we're going to turn this around, this is your game, this is for you, the gamer. And then you have the shareholder who they tell the true reason: yeah, people aren't playing as much as we want, we're going to hand in some more microtransactions out there, try and get more people to purchase these and up the revenue that way. That really pisses people off. They want honesty, they want truth, and they want transparency, and they want openness. And when you lie to their face, well, guess what? It's not a good look. Which takes us very nicely onto part 2, which is, hey, Stoopid. The gaming industry treats its customers with great disrespect, with disdain, treats them like idiots, like fools. The very first point in question is a prime example of that. When you give one truth to your customers and then give another truth, and likely the true truth, to your shareholders, you are treating your customers like idiots. You're taking them for a fool when they have the information out there in the public domain for them to get hold of without any difficulty whatsoever, especially now that YouTube and Twitter and all that exist, where these informations can get out readily to the audience. And then, of course, recently, Patrick Soderlund called the players of Battlefield uneducated. Why were they uneducated? Because they legitimately questioned why in the trailer for the new Battlefield 5, there was a woman painted up with a bionic arm that could absorb gunshots and be fine, who was running around, jumping into vehicles. They were wondering why on earth that was there when nothing like this existed in World War II at all. And yet, they were branded uneducated, which was really quite hypocritical considering Battlefield 5 then went on to rewrite history by taking men out of situations, true situations that happened in World War II, and replacing them with women simply to push a political agenda of everyone's battlefield when that isn't actually the case. And yet, we are the uneducated ones. A quick look into history, and they would have seen some amazing stories about Russian female snipers, one of them who notched up, I believe, over 300 kills. That would have been an amazing story to tell in Battlefield 5 for everyone. And not only that, it would be based in reality and therefore also manage to get across the role of women in World War II in a legitimate way. When you treat your audience like fools, when you treat them with disdain and disrespect, then you are always going to create an adversarial positioning between the two. And you get the reaction that you got with Battlefield 5. No sales. Or certainly not the sales to the degree that they wanted them at. Nowhere close. And it was at half price after a week, 2 weeks at best. When the gaming publisher treats its customer like the enemy, it's never going to be a relationship that develops. It's only going to be a relationship that disintegrates. And until that changes, it's never going to get any better. Which leads us to not worth playing. You now have this really bizarre stance where you are, at the very best, passively, if not actively, telling people not to play your products anymore. They're not worth playing for different reasons. I'm going to take a game which actually did well, but probably could have done a lot better, and that's Assassin's Creed Odyssey. When that released, it's a full price AAA game, $60, and yet 7 tabs of microtransactions to start with. And one of those tabs having a 10% experience boost from day one. Essentially telling your audience, oh, we've purposely made the game grindier, which a lot of people did confirm. So it's forcing you to pay an extra $10 to get this 10% experience boost to help you along the way. Oh, and by the way, here's 6 other tabs of cosmetics, which will take you an age to get if you grind, but if you fork out money right now, then you can get them. That translates to me as, what's the point? Just fork over cash and get it all now. It's not enticing me. And so I was sat on the fence anyway as regards to buying Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And when I found out that it had 7 tabs of microtransactions on launch, turned me off. Absolutely turned me off. It said to me, why play our game? And then to get more general, the gaming industry seems to be so caught up with the metric of engagement that it seems to have forgotten the most important element, which is fun. They're so determined to try and keep people in a game doing repetitive chores because they do feel like chores. It feels like when you log on to the World of Warcraft now, you have to log on to do the dishes. Oh, I'm logging on so I can do the dusting. Oh, I'm logging on to do the laundry. Oh, I'm logging on because I'm washing the windows. It doesn't feel like you're logging on for fun and to do fun things. The desperation for engagement, the same with Destiny 2, is just to try and keep people there, throwing them the bone to see if they can get the toy at the end or the prize at the end. But the actual content itself is desperately dull. People would be more engaged if they had fun things to do. You will retain a mediocre core audience that will eventually also erode over time to start with, but you will lose so much more. In an effort to catch whales, you are literally looking at an ocean full of fish and walking right past them. Although I would recommend a boat if you're fishing, otherwise you're going to get pretty wet. Greed. It's a disease which has saturated the gaming industry. And I understand that it's a business and that you need to make money, but there is a colossal difference between greed and value for money. The Witcher 3 is a perfect example of value for money. CD Projekt Red made an amazing game, probably the best ever made. In my eyes, it is. Coming out $60 with over 200 hours worth of gameplay and 0 microtransactions. They then released 2 story-based DLCs, $15 each, and they themselves gave you 20, 30, 40 plus hours of additional content. So all in all, $90 for that game in total, and the amount of content that you got and the type of game that you got, absolutely phenomenal. How many copies has the Witcher series sold worldwide? Over 33 million to date, and the vast majority of those are actually The Witcher 3. And then you have the greed, which is just rampant and saturating the marketplace today. Take, for example, the World of Warcraft right now. You pay for the expansion, you pay for a subscription, and Final Fantasy XIV doesn't get let off the hook here, and things like The Elder Scrolls Online don't either, even though the subscription is optional and it is a free-to-play game. But you pay for those, and then you have cash shops full of items. Items which could go into the game and have content created around them. And if you ask anyone, really, who's playing Battle for Azeroth right now, if they're getting value for money, well, I think the vast majority would likely say no, if, of course, they're still playing. The drop-off seems to have been absolutely colossal. But herein lies the problem. You see, I'm looking at it from the perspective of the developer producing a product for the gamer. But, of course, that's not the case, because the developers are actually creating a product for the shareholders. The gamers are the commodity for the shareholders, and therefore the money which they try and generate through the greed that they have, which therefore goes to placate their shareholder, it's never enough. Because for the shareholder, it's never enough. They have to have more, and therefore the gaming industry has to get even more egregious to try and hit these targets which they've now had put upon them by the shareholder. And it is a business model set for failure. It is a business model that will implode, and seemingly seems to be imploding around us right now, unless the gaming industry, unless the developer starts to create games for the gamer that they will quite happily buy and invest money into, and if they put practices in which feel like value for money, that they're not getting fleeced, then the gaming industries and those companies will thrive. Whereas the egregious ones will ultimately burn out. They might fizzle brightly for a while, but they, believe me, will come crashing to the ground. And then we get to our final one. Sorry, not sorry. You never apologize. Through all the things that you do, you call us all the names under the sun: entitled, toxic, uneducated. You try and fleece us for every bit of cash that we've got, while designing content for engagement and not for fun, and therefore not producing a good experience and making the customer feel as if they're being ripped off at every given opportunity. And when you do eventually turn around and address the outcries from your communities, what do you say? We're listening. We'll do better. We hear you. And we just get the same old crap over and over again. It's like a computer program. 20, go to 10, run. And it's just the same old thing. You come across as absolutely 100% insincere. You come across as phony and fake, and you don't come across as if you're ever going to make any changes. And because you keep using the same terminology, refusing to apologize, and refusing to actually make adaptations and changes to your game to make them more fun and interesting, you are breeding a culture to the gamer where they don't believe a word you say anymore because you can't tell the truth. And when you can't tell the truth, why should we believe anything that comes out of your mouth? Why should we believe you when you say, we're listening, we hear you, and nothing ever gets done? If you truly want to bond with your community, then you have to be open and honest with them. And this seems something that you are absolutely unprepared for. An impossible act. We can't be honest. We can't be truthful. And yet it's the one thing that most gamers would really appreciate and really truly gravitate towards. Back in 2010, when Final Fantasy XIV released, it was garbage. Unmitigated garbage. What did Square Enix do at the time? And Square Enix, don't get me wrong, they have their faults. But when it came to Final Fantasy XIV, and when they understood the power of the Final Fantasy brand, they immediately stopped the subscription fee for the game. Immediately stopped it. And then the head of the corporation emailed everyone who had purchased the game and apologized. Legitimately apologized. And how can I say legitimately? Because they backed up their apology with action. This isn't good enough. Because it's not good enough, we're not going to charge you a subscription fee. We have sacked the team. And we're getting a new team in with a new head developer, Yoshi P. And we're going to try and repair this game. Time went on. Yoshi P tried to repair it, couldn't do it with what he had, needed a new engine, needed to do it his way. Turned around, said it to Square. Square said, okay. They shut the game down. They took the hit because they realized that if they tried to just botch fix this, ultimately it would have destroyed the game, possibly even destroyed the Final Fantasy franchise as a whole. And then when they relaunched it as A Realm Reborn, it's been a massive success for them and something they herald as a huge success still today here in 2018/2019. Honesty, truthfulness is what we're looking for. If you make a mistake, own up and do something. Your actions will speak louder than your fake platitudes. And so, until you actually do decide to be open and honest and truthful and legitimately begin to connect with your communities will continue to erode, continue to fall away, and companies who are prepared to listen, companies who understand that they are creating a product for the gamer and not the shareholder, they will again thrive. So I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do get a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links, they're in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.